good afternoon. Welcome to Preservation Connecticut's Fall 2023 series of Talking About Preservation. Our noontime chats about everything preservation. I'm Jane Montanaro, Executive Director of Preservation Connecticut, and I'm pleased to be your host. Today we are chatting about the new Connecticut Main Street Center initiative, Improving Downtown Communities, with Kristen Lopez, Education and Training Director at Connecticut Main Street Center. Before we begin, let me give you a quick overview of Preservation Connecticut. Preservation Connecticut is the statewide, private, nonprofit historic preservation organization founded in 1975 by a special act of the Connecticut General Assembly as the Connecticut Trust for Historic Preservation to preserve, protect, and promote the buildings, sites, and landscapes that contribute to the heritage and vitality of Connecticut's communities. We are statutory partners with the Connecticut State Historic Preservation Office, and I'm proud to say that for 48 years, we have successfully championed the protection of remarkable community assets all over the state by leveraging funding, advocating, forming partnerships, and promoting stewardship. Our staff listed here, our office here on Whitney Avenue in Hamden, Connecticut, shown here, is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and designated as an official project of Save America's Treasures program. It's the Eli Whitney Boarding House, and it's served as our headquarters since 1989. We have a staff of 9 preservation professionals and a board of 21 preservationists from around the state. Staff listed here are always available to assist with inquiries. Christopher Wiegren is our Deputy Director. Contact Chris for information on historic preservation easements, our bi-monthly magazine, Connecticut Preservation News, our Olmsted in Connecticut Landscape Survey project, and to arrange book talks for his book, Connecticut Architecture, Story of 100 Places. Renee Trubert is our Making Places and Preservation Services Manager. Please contact Renee for information on redevelopment of historic industrial sites and for tax credit applications. Jordan Sorensen is our Development and Special Projects Manager. Jordan manages all of our communications and outreach to members through social media and email, receives and monitors demolition notices from municipalities, and prepares historic tax credit applications and nominations to the state and national registers of historic places. Kristen Hopewood, Development Assistant, manages all of the inquiries that come through our websites, provides member services, arranges special events, and is the editor of our Historic Properties Exchange, a free listing of threatened historic properties. And finally, our team of circuit riders, Brad Scheid, Mike Farino, Stacy Vero, and Stefan Danchuk. They provide immediate boots-on-the-ground service to homeowners, developers, municipal leaders, nonprofit organizations, museums, and historic district commissions, with an array of preservation technical assistance, including community organizing, prioritizing maintenance and repairs, historic designations, funding, and archaeology. These chats started during the pandemic, and they continue on as an important tool for us to meet our mission. We're able to connect with the public and hear what's on your mind. Please feel free to use the chat feature to ask questions directly at the end of the presentation, or contact us afterwards for a call or a site visit. Many, many thanks to our business sponsors for today's Talking About Preservation: Colonial Restoration, based in Fiskdale, Massachusetts, and Valley Restoration, based in Torrington, Connecticut. Both cover the state of Connecticut for preservation work. And next week, we'll be joined by Preservation Connecticut staff member Renee Trubert for a talk on Preservation Connecticut's work with the help of interns in discovering Connecticut's Green Book sites. But now I'm excited to turn the controls over to Kristen from Connecticut Main Street Center. Welcome, Kristen.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today and for that introduction. I'm very excited to be with you all. My name is Kristen Lopez. I'm the Education and Training Director at Connecticut Main Street Center. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit more about Connecticut Main Street Center in case you aren't aware of us. And also, I'm really excited to announce our brand new program that is launching in January, though applications are open now, called Main Street Accelerator. And I'll be sharing more about that program and information in case you want to apply. So Connecticut Main Street Center is the expert resource for developing and sustaining vibrant downtowns and main streets that fuel our state's prosperity. It's our mission to assess, educate, and convene around the topics central to creating a thriving downtown so that main streets all around the state can develop, grow, and prosper. We are grateful to our sponsors to make this work possible. Connecticut Main Street's founding sponsors are Eversource and the State of Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development. And when we talk about main streets or downtowns or even commercial corridors or village centers, all these kind of words, we use them kind of interchangeably here, but we all know a great downtown when we see it. It's a feeling, it's an energy, we can sense it, see it, experience it. But sometimes it can be hard to articulate what exactly makes a main street great. But we've broken it down into 6 qualities to make it easier to grasp. And these are qualities that we've seen in all vibrant downtowns. And so let's take a look at them. First, there's dedicated Main Street management. This is a really important tenet of Connecticut Main Street Center. We believe that great downtowns don't happen overnight and they don't happen organically. They need to happen with a champion and an advocate at the helm to bring all the stakeholders together, to put together the funding, to make sure that the community, the downtown is developing the way that the community wants to see it and that it's people-centric. Main streets that are vibrant are connected by multiple modes of transportation for people to easily access. So we hear a lot about transit-oriented development, but it also can mean about bikeability, even walkability or strollability. They're welcoming, friendly, and inclusive. People want to be there. People feel good there. They're safe. They're welcomed. Committed to a sustainable future. So the Main Street incorporates sustainable practices that bring life and vibrancy for today's needs, but also we think towards the future. So of course, we are talking about electric charging stations for cars, but also environmental resiliency programs like bioswales or pollinator walking paths, or even having trees that are designed for kind of an urban environment, that a root system that won't heave up the sidewalks and is easy to maintain, but provide shade. Also, there's investment in a diverse economy. So it's not just new development, and especially this group, we're a huge proponent of historic, adaptive reuse and historic preservation, but also small businesses are supported and encouraged, and not investing kind of all of our energy into one basket, so to speak, but looking at all the aspects to a diverse economy for more resiliency. And of course, there's a unique sense of place. So when you go into this main street, you feel like you're actually someplace. There's a brand, there's an identity, there's a sense of pride that you can see. And so it is our mission to assess, educate, and convene around all of these qualities that make a vibrant main street. And that's around here, the points that we just went through. These are the qualities of vibrant Main Street. And in the center here, though, is how we cultivate those qualities. And that is through the 4 points of Main Street management, which was developed in the late 1970s by the National Trust for Historic Preservation to address the neglect and demolition that they saw across historic downtowns across the nation. And what they had noticed is that downtowns had lost their value in 4 distinct areas. That's economic value, physical value, social value, and civic value. So to combat those areas where they saw they lost value, they come up with these 4 points of economic vitality that focuses on the small business, the housing, the all the kind of economic vitality factors. For the loss of physical value, that's design. So that's a lot of the facade improvement programs. That's our streets. That's our lighting, sidewalks. For promotional value, that's bringing together people. So through events, through either that special events or even kind of the music downtown events, but how do we get people back together on Main Street? And then of course, an organization, which is really is the structure of that dedicated Main Street management, volunteers, that the municipality is investing in their downtown. And so this 4-point framework is really practical and an adaptable framework that can be tailored to meet the local conditions of any downtown. And so that is our framework in which Connecticut Main Street Center does all of its work around. And so to that end, we developed this new program called Main Street Accelerator, which we're super excited about. And this is essentially a practical program to help people really practice and implement the 4 points of management to cultivate the qualities of vibrant Main Street that we just went over. And this program really came out of what we saw happening around the state. We see a really renewed interest in investing in our downtowns and making them vibrant, whether that's revitalization or improving on success that's already happening. But we're seeing that people are getting maybe a little sidetracked with projectitis that we say, of really kind of focusing on really exciting projects, but not taking a moment and seeing how they fit into a comprehensive, holistic Main Street vision, or maybe too many ideas, and just needs kind of some guidance, some accountability to move the project forward. So now I'm going to share a little bit more in depth about this program that we're excited to launch and what you can expect from there. So as I mentioned, Main Street Accelerator, it's really an action-oriented leadership development program grounded in helping communities implement a project that will benefit their Main Street. So it's really focused on launching a project. So we're going to be talking about best practices of the 4 points in Main Street, how to put together an action plan, how to work with volunteers, but it's all going to be done in the lab of an actual project that you want to see completed. So by the end of the program, you'll have a completed action plan, and you'll have some other assets like a community engagement flyer. And then there's also an opportunity to receive grant funding to execute the project. And Main Street Accelerator is perfect for a community that has an identified challenge or opportunity that has support, but needs a little bit of organization, guidance, and extra attention. So if you participate, what can you expect? First, guidance. You'll be guided through launching your project or solving your challenge through a curated curriculum that is based in best practices, and we'll go over the curriculum in a moment. And also taught by subject matter experts. We're bringing in Preservation Connecticut to help us with some of the content around historic preservation. We also have Sustainable Connecticut talking about the sustainability kind of lens piece of things. And then of course, our staff, which has many years of experience of Main Street management, and other guest speakers as we see kind of the cohort of projects that come in. We're going to bring in people who can speak to specific challenges as we see the cohort develop. It's convenient. So this whole program was developed with busy professionals in mind. Each month, the curriculum is going to be released on an online platform where you can go through the lessons at your own pace, look at kind of the assignments that your team can work on together, all offline. But then every month, we're going to come together and to dive deeper into a topic and to discuss as a group. As I mentioned, this is all about real life application. This program exists so that we can see your project launch. So it's not meant to be just an intellectual exercise, but really to help you accomplish what you need to get done. And we'll be providing templates that you can use immediately in your community. And accountability is a huge aspect that we're including into the Main Street Accelerator. A lot of people who are doing Main Street work, maybe you're a volunteer, maybe this is just one hat that you wear with a bazillion other hats. And so keeping on top of a project and seeing it through can be really challenging. So through this program, we're going to be assigning tasks and assignments to keep your team, on track to actually reach your goal. In addition to the self-paced curriculum and the live monthly sessions, we're also going to have group coaching calls throughout the program to give you even more tailored advice for your project or situation. And as I briefly mentioned, for eligible graduates, we're going to have some seed funding available to launch your project. Eligibility of this funding is going to be based on your attendance and participation in the program, and also if we see your team completing the assignments. So some of the eligibility to apply. So first, we're talking about wanting a defined project or challenge. So for a project, we mean it could be launching a farmer's market. Maybe a bigger project could be you have a historic, abandoned or underutilized, historic theater, for example, or another type of structure that you really want to do a big project around. So that would be a defined project, or there's a challenge that you don't know exactly how to tackle it yet. So that could be something like there's a really negative perception of your downtown, or you really want to boost a small business environment, but you're just not exactly sure how to do that. We'll bring you through a process to help you think through projects that will address those challenges. The only thing that's really not a good fit is any project that's really focused on infrastructure. That's not a good fit for this program. All of Connecticut communities with a Main Street, downtown, village center, commercial corridor are welcome to apply. Preference will be given to our existing members. However, we encourage all towns across the state to apply. And if you're not a member, we'll include a one-year membership with your acceptance into the program. And one kind of unique aspect to this is that we're not asking for just one person from a community to apply and participate. At its very core, Main Street management is collaborative. And so as such, we want to see a community team formed that includes 3 to 5 stakeholders as a team to go through this process to launch a project success, because ultimately you're going to have to bring in multiple stakeholders for your Main Street project. And so we'd rather have everyone part of this program together. And the stakeholders that we have in mind, it could be if you have a downtown management program, that downtown manager, economic development director, or a town planner. It could be board members, commissioners, volunteers, other municipal department officials, business owners, property owners, or anchor institutions, whatever makes sense for your project. And just a quick look at the timeline and the curriculum. So right now the applications are open, and I'll give you the link in a moment that you guys can go to and apply, but applications are open. They'll be open till November 3rd. We're going to give notification of the accepted communities sometime in November, sooner rather than later, but in the month of November, you'll be notified. December 7th, we'll have an in-person kickoff event, location to be determined based on if we see any kind of geographic likeness with the accepted communities. And then let's look at the curriculum. So we're first going to start out with the Main Street management kind of basics. So that'll be the fundamentals of the 4 points of Main Street management. And you can kind of do a self-assessment, get to see where you stand and how your project kind of fits within the 4 points. We'll then kick off some group coaching calls to make sure you're off on the right foot into the program. Month 2 is where we're calling it sustainable development, but it's really focused on a sustainable lens that is absolutely critical for us to consider in any project. And our sustainable lens that we're looking at is 1, equitability, looking at inclusiveness and diversity. We're looking at environmental components, which includes historic preservation as critical. We just had a great staff meeting talking about the importance of that with all the climate change that's happening. And anyways, I'm sorry, very important topic. So we're excited to have Preservation Connecticut contribute to the curriculum there. And then also looking at the economic sustainability of a project. So we'll talking about that in month 2. Then we'll be getting into action planning. How can we really create a great action plan, specifically keeping in mind how we have multiple stakeholders at the table? Who's going to do what? How are we going to focus that? We'll have another group coaching call session. And then in month 4, we're going to be talking about how can we build and activate a really successful team. So looking at volunteers, looking at all of our different stakeholders, how can we play to each other's core expertise and advantages to really create a high performing team. Then we'll be looking at community engagement. And so not just how can we get the community involved participating, but really some best practices in marketing. How can we talk about our projects in a way that is persuasive and engaging and exciting? We'll have our last group of coaching calls before our last month session, which is going to be about tracking impact and looking at long-term success in regards to funding, and how we can tell the story with the data that backs up how it has a positive impact in the community. And then June 18th, that is when we'll be hosting our 20th annual Awards of Excellence. And we're going to invite all of our communities to exhibit their projects and to have a moment where they can share with a greater statewide audience what they're doing in their own community. And as I mentioned, our applications are due November 3rd. It's a very short application process. Basically, we'll be asking you for all of your team contact information, a description of your project. I can't remember, but it's 500 characters max. So we're not really looking for chapter and verse. It's very short. A description of the team. Why now? Why is it a good time to go through a program like this? Are all the parts kind of in your community lined up and now it's ready, you're ready to execute? And what do you expect for participating in the program? We're going to be reviewing the applications. We do have the maximum number of communities we want to see is 10, but it could be a smaller group than that. We're really focused right now on making sure that the projects will be set up for success through this program. So don't be intimidated by it. And if you have absolutely any questions about maybe a project that you have in mind, we can obviously talk about it right now, but feel free to email me. And I am going to put in the chat right now the link to the program page that has all of the detail I just talked about and a little bit more. as well as the link to the application. So you can peruse that at your leisure here. And with that was my short and sweet presentation about Connecticut Main Street and our Main Street Accelerator program that we're super excited about. So I'll open it up to questions. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I'll just leave the screen up for a little bit if you want to jot down my email address or scan the QR code.
Great. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you.
And I just scanned the QR code and I see it does lead you to a nice form. Pretty simple, straightforward form to fill out.
Yep, on a Google form. Very straightforward. You know, I encourage everyone to just take a look at it. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll just put in the chat my email address.
Well, this is a really exciting initiative. Preservation Connecticut is pleased to be a partner with you on it.
We're really excited to have you, and you know, like I had mentioned, this program came out of what we saw in the field, where there are so many communities that have, you know, an initiative or project that they want to you know, pursue, but are really lacking that framework, you know, that guidance to help them through. And this is meant to do that in a group setting. Yeah.
Terrific. Lynn has her hand raised. Lynn, go ahead.
Thanks. Do you anticipate this as being a repeatable program, or is this a one-time thing for this next year?
No, we plan for this to be an annual program that we would launch once a year. And I personally, I would love to see it become kind of our flagship educational offering that you know, provides that professional development of Main Street management, but again, in a practical and useful way that will benefit communities.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's one thing that's kind of interesting about Connecticut is that, you know, Main Street programs, if you look across the country, the West and especially the Midwest and the South have very, very strong kind of culture of Main Street management, where even the smallest communities of, you know, 2,000 people have a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to managing their downtown. In Connecticut, we don't have that culture. And I mean, of course, we're a little bit biased being a statewide organization, but we really do believe that when you look across the communities that have a managed approach versus the communities that don't, it's very clear, it's very distinct. You can even see that within the state of Connecticut, the downtowns that have a managed approach are typically the places that people want to go to and, you know, get picked up on lists of places to go and things like that. So we're hoping too that with this program, we can kind of educate people more on what does it mean to be Main Street management. It's not just event planning. It's actually a very strategic economic tool that brings in a lot of stakeholders, and collaboration is very intersectional in its approach.
Did anyone else in our audience have any questions for Kristen? Or ideas of projects you wanted to pass by her? Got a quiet group today.
All good. It's just I had such a fantastic presentation. It was all self-explanatory.
Answered everything.
Well, like I said, please feel free to email me if you have a potential idea for a project, or maybe just want to learn more about it and how it might fit within your local context. Happy to chat whenever. So I'm available as a resource.
Super. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.